Hi, it's Dwyer, theboxinggame.blogspot.com, where we discuss outside the ring issues. Remember, the opinion you should follow should be your own. Just consider this video to be a second opinion from a complete stranger online. You know, in boxing, we really shouldn't jump to conclusions about who's using who. You hear that a popular fighter has hired a nutritionist with a sketchy reputation who may have been involved in scandal in the past. And then a positive test happens, and many in the media, many online, will assume that the nutritionist is responsible for the failed test. I don't think we know that. I don't think we really know the story at this point about why Berto tested positive. He did hire Victor Conti. Victor Conti did run Balco. Balco was involved in the baseball steroid scandal, right? There are a lot of claims that have been made. There was a federal prosecution that took place against Balco client Barry Bonds, right? There also, in boxing, have been claims and accusations online. It led to a civil lawsuit. I believe there are deposition excerpts online from video depositions concerning Victor Conti's involvement with Shane Mosley many years ago. I'm not here to say that Victor Conti is a Boy Scout by any stretch of the imagination. But keep in mind, it's not Victor Conti who tested positive for nandrolone. That was Berto, right? We really don't know. And people need to think this through strategically. We really don't know whether Berto tested positively because of a substance he received from Victor Conti, whether it's a false positive because people in the know on nandrolone know that if you take a lot of lysine, there have been false positives in the past. There's also the issue, and this is something people need to think about, there's also the issue of tainted supplements, right? Berto would not be the first person, if he took a tainted supplement, to have taken a supplement that he thought was clean, but was later found to have trace amounts of nandrolone. But I think that viewers also shouldn't rule out the possibility, and they should never rule out this possibility for any athlete, that the athlete has set up a fall guy for things the athlete might be doing that might not be permitted. I'm not accusing Berto. I'm going to choose my words carefully. I'm not accusing Berto of anything untoward. But all I'm saying is this. If I were an athlete, and let's say I'm recovering from injury, and I planned on taking substances that I knew were banned, what better political cover could I possibly have than to hire a guy, a nutritionist, with a well-publicized, sketchy background who's been involved in federal prosecution as well as civil lawsuit, right? Who's been involved with a former champion who has admitted doping, right? Taking EPO, taking the cream and the clear. What better cover would I have if I were to hire that guy, continue my off-the-books regimen, doesn't even involve the nutritionist I've hired, right? I'm doing an off-the-books regimen, and then I test positive. Wouldn't that, without me even issuing a public statement, wouldn't that create the impression among boxing fans who seem to believe that these fighters are all innocents? Wouldn't that create the impression that my nutritionist with a sketchy background somehow gave me a substance that he shouldn't have been giving me? Right? And so my point to everyone is simply this, and I've gotten a lot of emails saying, hey, we want you to comment on the Berto situation. Let me just say a couple of things. The Berto situation is different than the Lamont Peterson situation. There, Lamont Peterson's group eventually admitted that Peterson had taken testosterone pellets. Right here, Berto hasn't admitted to anything. In fact, Berto has asked for an investigation. Right? We also know that Victor Conti has said that he was the person who encouraged Berto to sign up with VADA, V-A-D-A, right? We know that Victor Conti has other clients in boxing who have not tested positive for nandrolone. And we know that Victor Conti has said that he's not responsible in any way for the positive test, that Andre Berto apparently took supplements that were not provided to him by Victor Conti. Now, I'm not going to take sides and say that this guy's telling the truth, that guy's lying, or that guy's telling the truth, this guy's lying. I'm not going to take sides. But what I am going to say is, this is the way the drug game works. A positive drug test happens, and then everyone says, we don't know how it happened. Right? All I'm saying is, at this point, we don't know who's responsible. Let's not blame the nutritionist. Right? Somebody else may be to blame. You're talking about prize fighting where millions of dollars and world titles are on the line. You're talking about athletes who, sometimes admit to having juice after they're busted. Think Lamont Peterson. Sometimes claim that, yes, they voluntarily took substances, but they had no idea the substances were performance enhancing. Think Shane Mosley, right? Other times you have guys who say, what? I have no idea how I had that substance in my system. Think Fernando Vargas. Now think Andre Berto, right? It's a strict liability regime. You test positive, you're responsible legally, you're in trouble. All I'm saying is, we don't know whether Victor Conti gave Andre Berto something. We don't know whether Andre Berto created the perfect cover so that he could take things and then have a fall guy. We even don't know whether Andre Berto went to a regular health store, GNC or something, took some supplement that should have been legal, and then ended up with a tainted supplement. Nor do we know if there's a doctor in the background who hasn't fully disclosed to Andre Berto the nature of the substances he's taking. We just don't know. What we do know is that nandrolone is a steroid that only amateurs would take today, right? This is a steroid that, quite frankly, has been around since the 1960s. It used to be an oil-based steroid that would literally linger in your body for up to a year, right? Science has evolved. This steroid, which you used to inject, can now be taken in oral tablet form. But it's one of the easier steroids to detect in the system. Now, while it's true that apparently some Balco clients from way back in the day have admitted to taking nandrolone. I have a very hard time, and I mean a very hard time, believing that any nutritionist would give nandrolone to any prize athlete today, because that's practically an invitation to get busted. Understand the testosterone pellets that Lamont Peterson took are harder to detect than nandrolone is in the system, right? Peterson took soy-based synthetic testosterone. Here, nandrolone is synthetic. It's easy to detect. I think it's crazy to think, my own bias, that any nutritionist would sign their fighter up for VADA, the drug testing agency, the same one that busted Lamont Peterson, while giving the athlete nandrolone. Right? Now, I don't know what happened here. Maybe I'm biased. I'm from the Bay Area. Victor Conti's from the Bay Area. But I believe Victor Conti's statement. I'm not saying anybody else is lying. I'm not saying the steroid ingestion was anything possibly other than accidental. But I have a very hard time believing that Victor Conti is responsible for the positive test. Conti has spoken at length about microdosing. Conti has actually worked with officials to make sure that drug testing have teeth. If anyone knows the rigors of VADA, as opposed to other drug testing protocols, it would be Victor Conti. All I'm saying is, if the drug here were something more provocative, EPO or something, then it would be more plausible. But for the steroid that Berto was busted for to be nandrolone, you know, a steroid that's easily detectable today, I have a hard time believing, very hard time, believing that really one of the world's best nutritionists, especially when it comes to helping athletes, would actually give anyone nandrolone. Something doesn't smell right to me. Let me know what you think. Let me also say this too. You know, the one thing I will say about boxing, and I know there was an issue a year ago about drug testing. I know Floyd wanted fighters drug tested. All I can say is now we know that even with voluntary drug testing, for whatever reason, fighters facing marquee fights, big fights, championship fights against former champions are failing drug tests, right? If you didn't believe that boxing needs some kind of drug testing protocol before, I hope you've reconsidered that position. Let me know what you think. Leave your comments for me here online. Visit us at gamblersadvisory.com. Thanks for watching.